When our ship landed to deliver the overdue shipment of weird little space goats, I admit I was surprised when I saw what their owners looked like. Big, I'd been told. Polite as well. Even very careful about where they step. But no one had told me to expect pink elephants. I almost stopped in my tracks as I exited the ship, only jumping forward again when the shipmate's bug leg prodded my shoulder blade. I stepped quickly, and did my best to stare without slowing up the proceedings. Our small crew was bringing the cages out onto a landing pad raised off the ground, level with the average head height of the gigantic lifeforms whose home planet this was. They strolled by on business of their own, each with 6 legs and trunks in pairs, top and bottom. Their tails looked prehensile too, but the most striking part was the colour, as bright pink as any flamingo, with flappy ears that faded to a more salmon orange with yellow edges. All they needed was polka dots to look like the most absurd hallucination this side of the Milky Way. "Hello, esteemed client," announced our captain, as he led the procession towards the pink face waiting at the edge of the platform. Captain Porcap was, I'd learned, the nephew of the captain of our sister ship, and somewhat new at this. I hoped he was waving his green tentacles at the right alien. This elephant was pretty noteworthy, actually. Its eyes had the white haze of cataract sufferers on Earth, and as we approached, it moved its ears down to show a hat of some sort. Wait. No. Is that a human on its head? I thought as I walked. What the heck? It was. While Captain Pocock greeted the alien that still hadn't spoken, I took in the sight of the muscly blonde guy perched on the saddle that was clearly custom made for this scenario. He was wearing weird little booties and had one foot raised, like he was ready to tap out a message on the alien's head. "And hello to you too," Pocock concluded, with a wave up at the human. The pink behemoth finally spoke. "Kindly do not distract my seeing-eye human," it said in a deep voice. "He is working." Pocock gave many flowery apologies, which the alien ignored in favour of inquiring about the state of its cargo. "The animals are in perfectly good health," Pocock said, "though they did give us some trouble. I'm afraid I'll have to insist." His demands for additional money were interrupted by urgent hisses from several crewmates who knew better, and, thankfully, by the arrival of another giant pink elephant. The two aliens spoke in rumbles almost too low to hear. The crewmates yelled at the captain in whispers. I stood awkwardly to the side, a newcomer without much stake in any of this. "Hey," called a different voice. "Quick question." It was the human guy, waving me over while his owner, was busy with conversation. I trotted to the edge of the platform, careful not to lean too far. No railing. "Yes?" "Is there one ship like that or two?" he asked, pointing over my shoulder at the lemon-looking thing we'd come in. "Oh, 2, I told him. "The other one looks just like it, parked over that away." I pointed off to where Cam's ship was picking up a new courier job. The 2 were nearly the exact same model on the outside, though only one had corridors tall enough for me to stand comfortably. "Thank you," the guy said in clear relief. I wasn't sure I was describing it right, glad I directed her to the right one. "Yeah, you got it," I said. I made to move back toward the crew, but he had one more thing to say. "If you're looking for a change in careers, there's plenty of demand for site assistants here," the guy said. "We work in shifts and the pay is good." "Oh, thanks. I'll keep that in mind." This wasn't the type of career I was aiming for, but it certainly was memorable. I wondered if there was a foot tap code. The second elephant said its goodbyes and moved on, leaving the seeing-eye human to snap to attention and catch his employer up to speed with the surroundings. No one had moved much, except for me. I sidled back to where I was supposed to be. Wiser minds had prevailed, thankfully. Porcap didn't press for extra fees, and the blind pink elephant who owned the goats didn't say anything about his conversational misstep. I was quietly shaking my head about how strange my life had gotten, when Porcap got involved in moving the cages onto the waiting cart, and he bumped the controls that let all the goats out. They immediately bounded across the platform in a wave of gleeful orange tentacle fur, kicking up their heels and knocking each other over. Their scrambling was only matched by the ship's crew going for the nets to catch them again. I chased 2 of the little troublemakers who broke away from the herd to make a mad dash towards the alien elephant on the edge of the platform. I could see the human tapping urgently at the giant's head, but not soon enough. One of the ghosts skidded to a stop, while the other sprang across empty space and landed beside him. He caught it, just leaned forward in his harness and snatched it up like a wayward puppy, The one that had stayed on the platform was already scampering back toward the ship. "Good catch," I called. "Hey, are they poisonous?" No one had been able to say for sure, and it seemed like an important detail right now. "Only if you're allergic to bees," the human said, as he bundled the wriggling creature into his shirt. Anemone tendril fur smacked his face. "Thanks, good to know," I said. "Let me grab a cage to put that one in." I darted off while the blind elephant asked what was happening, with more patience than the situation deserved. Thankfully, for all involved, our ship was the only one on the platform and the door was shut. Those frisky goatlings had nowhere to go but around in circles. Not that they minded running in circles, of course, but it was only a matter of time before the crew managed to grab them, one way or another. Mostly with nets. Sometimes with hands, or the equivalent, and sometimes with trash cans, or whatever else was convenient. I hauled a single-occupancy cage over to the edge, and got permission to climb aboard the giant alien's head in order to retrieve the little critter that was trying to kick free. I almost lost it over the edge. Almost. But the client didn't need to know that. I got it in the cage and put the cage back in the car with the rest, and that was all that mattered. The animals were none the worse for their adventure. Pocket was allergic to bees, though. "You finish up here?" He wheezed to the yellow heat seeker, who was already ushering him back toward the ship, with exasperation on her lizardly face. She spoke into her communicator to the crew member still on the ship. "Need a medical scan for the captain. Toxins and allergens. Quickly, please. He's... Okay, yeah, Zia's carrying him in now." The gaudy purple mesmer had scooped up the captain like an octopus, then needed to be tossed back into the sea. It looked like an awkward motion with his praying mantis arms, but then everything looked awkward to me in my human hands. "Our sincere apologies," said the new acting captain, coming to join me at the edge of the platform where she could address the client. "In all honesty, that spokesperson is not suited to this job. I hope his incompetence hasn't caused you undue distress?" It hadn't. The large alien was more amused than anything, and willing enough to finish the transaction. Moments later, payment had been transferred, and the animals were in the transport car, off to be someone else's problem. I looked around to make absolutely sure that there were no sneaky little orange faces hiding somewhere. All clear. "Farewell," rumbled the elephant. "Safe travels." I turned away from the platform slowly, leaving plenty of time for the human on its head to scan for tripping hazards and give the all clear. "Home, Jeeves." I held in a burst of laughter. Jeeves? That can't be his real name. Did the first person to be a seen-eye human suggest that as a job title? Amazing. A cutesy little peeping noise told me the acting captain was doing her people's version of a sharp whistle for my attention. "Sorry, coming," I said. Everyone else was heading for the ship, and I brought up the rear. "Considering a job change?" she asked, with a flick of her tail. "No, thank you," I said. "A noble cause, I'm sure, but it doesn't speak to me. I'd rather stay with you folks." "Good," she told me, walking faster. "You'll be useful to have on hand when we tell Polcap that we're voting him out of the captain's chair." "Oh my," I managed. And I thought today was already as eventful as it was going to get.